Okay, as we start our assignment drawing the leaves in negative spaces, we're going to be using our viewfinder. This viewfinder will come in handy for lots of future assignments that we do. It just helps us to flatten that 3D image so that we're able to accurately draw it on a 2D piece of paper. So we'll use this in quite a bit of our drawings, and you'll see that it can help you improve your skill in your drawing by seeing edges a little bit more clearly. Okay, so then the next thing you're going to do is you're going to have your leaves all set up over on this side on top of a white paper, and I'll show you what we're going to be doing with the viewfinder here. We're looking for negative spaces, and remember that negative spaces are the spaces in between things. So it's not the spaces, it's not the actual leaves that we're looking at, it's the spaces in between the leaves. So that's what we're going to be doing here. So you'll just put your plastic picture plane on top of your leaves, and then we're going to go in and we're going to take a erasable marker, and we're going to start drawing just on the plastic picture plane the negative spaces that we see. We're not looking at the leaves, we're looking at the negative spaces, okay? Okay, I have my leaves laid down, and what we're going to be doing here is just drawing the negative space on this plastic picture plane. So as I go in there, we can see this part here. I've got a negative space right in this area there. Okay, I've got some more negative space in here. So I'm not drawing the leaves or the stem, I'm just drawing the spaces in between. Okay, and so you're going to keep doing that. Just draw all the negative spaces that you see here and the shapes that you see as you do that. Okay, so you just keep going over your plastic picture plane. You're not outlining it, you're just looking for those negative spaces, this little triangle type space over here. I've got another little triangle space over here. Got some quite a funky little shape going on over here. Okay, so keep doing that while you're drawing your negative spaces on your picture, and we'll come back and look at the picture plane when it's finished. Okay, so I've finished drawing all the negative spaces in my plastic picture plane. So you can see, I'll just put, at no point in there, I've just got another white paper down there, did we actually draw the leaves, but you can see we actually do have the shape of the leaves has come through, because the negative space, the edges of the negative space and the edges of the positive space of the leaves, those are shared edges. So when we draw the negative space, so like these little spaces in between the leaves, eventually we do get to see the leaves that come through. This is going to help you a great deal in a lot of your other drawings. This is just a very simple task that we're doing now in transferring the negative spaces over for our leaves using this plastic picture plane, but we're going to use this for much more complicated drawings as well. Okay, so now is our chance. Now that we've got this on the plastic picture plane, we can use that on our drawing paper to help us draw these set of leaves through the negative spaces, and we've got our plastic picture plane here to help us out. Okay, so what I have now is my drawing paper here, and I've made sure that I've drawn a square the same size as the viewfinder square so that we know we're not drawing anything more or less than what we want to draw. And I've drawn the little crosshairs here. You can see the crosshairs across here, because that's going to help us determine when we're looking at our negative space here where we've drawn with this, we can have a look. Okay, this negative space right in here is just slightly above the middle crosshairs, and it takes place, it goes about almost right in the middle from this center crosshair. So we're going to be using that when we go to draw it on our book here. We're going to be using and making sure that we're drawing it in the same space as we have over on our negative space drawing here. So that's where these little crosshairs come in to help us to be able to draw things on the right spot on the page and in the right proportion. Okay, so let's get started with that. Okay, so when we're drawing this, we're referring not only to the plastic picture plane, which at this point the leaves may move at some point, so the plastic picture plane of where we've drawn our negative spaces will help us a great deal. but we're going to be taking this here and using the negative spaces from here, but we'll also be referring back to the leaves as we need to do our drawing. Okay, so keep in mind we have our drawing paper next to us, we have the plastic picture plane, and we also have our original leaves down there, just to keep referring back to everything as we draw. Okay, so I'm just going to be drawing my negative space here. I can see, I mean, you can start wherever you like. For me, I'm going to start in the middle as I'm working my way around here. And so here's my negative space that I've drawn in here, this shape in here. And so I'm going to be noting different things like that it splits, this shape right here is split in half by the crosshair, but it's all up above this half. So I'll make sure when I'm drawing that it occurs up on this half in here. And then I can see that it comes down to about halfway, maybe not quite halfway, in this section here. This negative space goes down to about halfway here. So when I'm coming down here, I can see my crosshairs, and it's just a little bit higher than halfway. So that's about how far down my negative space is going to go. And then I'll start this coming over in this area here. This is maybe, how high up is this? Maybe about an inch or so is about where, how high that is from my middle crosshair. And from there, I just start making a few little reference points from here and comparing them to how far away it is from the edge or from this middle point, but I'm still focusing on the negative spaces in here. So let's just begin doing that. Okay, so you can see we've transferred that one negative space that we've done right in here, and we've transferred it over onto our paper over here, watching the crosshairs. Now I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to come in and I'm going to transfer these little crosshairs, these little negative space points down in here. And I can see that they are close by this negative space, and they come out to about, I would say, halfway, maybe not quite halfway, on this crosshair here. So that's a good reference for me to know how far out these are going. They're probably starting out a little bit around in there, and we can draw that negative space coming up. I can see that the tail of it here comes and meets about halfway down in here, and then we'll go and draw our negative space that we have right here. Okay, and we're constantly referring as well to our actual leaves that we have there and making sure that we're drawing the same negative space that we have in those leaves as well. Okay, so you'll just keep doing that with all of your negative space, and in the end you should have, this will be your way to use negative space to have drawn these leaves. Okay, at this point you'll have your drawing finished with all of your negative spaces in here. I've got some large leaves overlapping in here, so we're missing a fair bit of detail, but that's just fine. All we're looking for when we're drawing using negative space is to get things in the right spot, and you can see that the leaves do show up in here. You know, we do have leaves coming in and over here, and when you're doing a larger drawing, then you can add in detail afterwards, but at least you've got your negative space in there, and you've created an aesthetically pleasing drawing with that negative space. Okay, and so we can still see we're referring to our leaves over here, and we've got our leaves set out, and we've got the outline or the negative space over here in those leaves, and with the help of using our plastic picture plane, we've been able to transfer over here. So now just what I want you to do when you're finished this is just to go in with your pencil, and you're going to be shading all of the negative space. So just go in with your pencil and go in and shade all of that negative space in there, and then you can watch your picture pop. If you wanted to add detail afterwards, you could, but it's not required. We're just working on negative space for this point. As with all of your drawings, don't forget to sign and date all of your drawings.